there's this massive industry out there, and about a $40 billion a year spend in the US. And Silicon Valley's largely ignored it. Not a lot of new tech arising. And so it became obvious, maybe there's a contrarian play here where we can apply some technology to this channel and, kind of bring it into the 21st century.
You are listening to Power Marketing with Kevin Lee. Kevin and his agency Did It have helped thousands of businesses win through superior marketing, as have his books, articles, speaking engagements, and the E-Marketing Association Power Marketing podcasts. Here's Kevin.
I'm super excited to be here with Dennis Kelly today, and I'd love to start, Dennis, with the origin story and how you guys evolved from BoingNet to Postalytics.
That sounds great, Kevin, and thanks for having me today. Super excited to speak with you and your audience. So, like a lot of startups, Postalytics has been a journey and as you mentioned, a pivot off of an initial set of software and company that we had built. And just some background, I've been involved in starting up or financing tech companies here in the greater Boston area for a long time. And so Postalytics is my sixth startup, believe it or not. And so along the way, you meet a lot of great people. And so several years ago, I had sold the company and took some time off. And then as I was starting to re-engage and try to figure out what to do next, I connected with a real senior software architect who I'd worked with a couple of times in the past and had some great success with. Turns out that we ended up living near each other after going some different directions, and so we got together. And so this guy had his own company. He was doing software consulting and a bunch of other things, and he had wanted to do a direct mail campaign for some event that he was hosting or something along those lines. And so, he started putting together the mechanics of this direct mail campaign and decided that, hey, I got all this data that I'm using to personalize this campaign. Well, why don't I use that data to personalize the landing page that the people go to when they respond to this particular piece of direct mail? And, makes sense, if you're going to personalize the offline experience, well, why not match up the online experience and have a consistency between the two? And so he immediately thought of, well, I should, acquire some software that'll make this easy. Like every good engineer, he took a look around the market and decided that none of it was good enough and that he could build a much better mousetrap. And so he of course did, and started showing some other people, and before you know it, he had some customers and a side gig, and he said, "Hey, Dennis, I got this thing going. It appears to have some traction. What do you think?" And so, this is back in 2013. And I took a look at it and I thought, direct mail, like, you kidding me? Like, those days are over. But then do a little bit more digging and you see, well, actually direct mail is a very big legacy marketing channel. And then, all right, well, what sort of investment is being made in the tech infrastructure to support this marketing channel? And do a little bit more digging, really not much at all. Very little tech investment.
It's incredible, yeah.
Yeah. So you start analyzing this, and you realize there's this massive industry out there, and about a $40 billion a year spend in the US. And Silicon Valley's largely ignored it. Not a lot of a new tech arising. And so it became obvious, maybe there's a contrarian play here where we can apply some technology to this channel and, kind of bring it into the 21st century. So that's what really kicked off BoingNet, which was the first iteration of what we're doing. What we thought was, well, we can build some great software. We can help marketers that are doing a lot of direct mail, bring these campaigns into the multi-channel marketing world. And, so we built out email marketing, we built out a microsite builder, we built out SMS marketing, so that, if you're a direct mail service provider, you could easily surround a direct mail campaign with lots of other channels. And we sold that for a couple of years and did okay with it. But it became very obvious that, there was actually a need for a much more robust solution that solved the bigger problem with direct mail, or bigger problems, which are the complexity and speed of the production process to create a campaign. You're using spreadsheets and files in multiple vendors, and if you compare that to a digital marketing campaign or an email marketing campaign, it's so much more complex. It's insanity. And then there's no connection to any of the underlying marketing tech that is being used to power everything else. So, you've got all this investment in Salesforce and Hubspot and all these layers of marketing tech, and all of your direct mail data is sitting in a spreadsheet, right? From 1987, that's your data source. So, and then finally, there's a lack of analytics associated with direct mail because, again, the data is completely separate from everything else. And so we decided to really attack that larger set of problems and pivoted from BoingNet to Postalytics. That was about 5 years ago. We've been growing like gangbusters ever since. We now have over 5,000 customers. We're serving both the United States and Canada. We built integrations to a whole lot of different back-end systems. And we're growing, between 60 and 80% on an annual basis. So, fortunately, we were able to manipulate this thing and get it into this particular point in time. And now the market seems to be coming around to our point of view.
Yeah, well, that's a great origin story, and then quite a backstory, quite a journey as you layered in additional analytics, additional functionality to go beyond where you started. One interesting thing, I'm wondering whether you noticed it for your clients the same way we did, because it ended up getting into the direct mail business at the idea of my business partner who retired. He actually also wanted to do the printing. I didn't want to do the printing. We got out of the printing side when he retired, but we still do direct mail, and I do a little bit of inventing there. But during the pandemic, we saw this really odd scenario that for a lot of our direct mail clients who continued to mail during the pandemic, the the conversion rates went up, right? And we were like, well, that's sort of weird. And, we came up with some hypotheses that, okay, you're stuck at home, and now when the postal carrier arrives, it's actually the highlight of the day because they might have something from Amazon with them. And so you're actually excited to get the mail for the first time, in ever, right? Potentially. And, when you combine that with the fact that, the usage experience for direct mail used to be you get home at 9:00 at night after a long day at work. And the only thing you wanted to do with your direct mail was sort it into the garbage or the bills, right? And so now all of a sudden we saw for a lot of our clients that we saw sometimes double-digit increases in conversion rate in direct mail. A lot of that is now moderated back out again, but it was unusual. Did you see any of that for your clients as well?
We did. We saw similar things, and there's actually some data to back that premise up. First of all, the mailbox is the least crowded mailbox that you have now.
Yeah, right.
Right. So each piece of mail that arrives, by definition, you're paying more attention to than you did 20 years ago, and in all of your other messaging channels, right, that are just completely overwhelmed. So you get this physical piece of mail that you have to manipulate physically. You have to manage it. You have to hold it. You have to look at it, make a decision as what to do with it. So that in and of itself has caused response rates to rise. Secondly, the tech is getting better that is actually presenting you direct mail. So there's better technology that is being used in the printing and mailing process. The data on the back end is more accurate. It is being tied together with your purchase histories and your interests that you've indicated across a variety of different spectrums. So you're getting more relevant stuff. You're not getting spray and pray kind of junk mail that you used to get. And so that has caused an increase in response rate. And then finally, very connected to the pandemic, the advent of QR codes has made the ramp from offline to online so much more easy. And, QR codes have been around forever, as, those of us in the marketing world know. But the fact that, the pandemic happened and they became a mainstream tool of consumers all over the country. Now, you get a piece of mail, it's got some great offer, you see a QR code, boom, I hit it, I'm online, I'm done. I can move on with my day. And so it's an easy way to respond in a digital way, which is what people want to do.
Yeah.
They don't want to pick up the phone. They don't want to fill out a form and write a check, this stuff they used to do. They just want to hit something, fill it out, and go. And so QR codes enable that. And what we've seen since the pandemic is a 75% increase in campaigns that are using QR codes over that span of 3 years. And so, the marketers are aggressively adopting them. Consumers are using them, and it's becoming kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy in that way.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. I mean, the restaurant menus is what rescued the QR codes from oblivion, basically. And, we saw that data as well of sudden increase in people's willingness to engage with QR codes. So we built a direct mail piece of software, that uses variable digital printing QR codes that are unique to each piece as well. And we didn't know, you guys may have had it, but we didn't know. So we built our own. That's what engineers sometimes do.
That's right. That's right.
But a follow-up question, because it's an area of sort of the arcane side of direct mail that a lot of marketers struggle with, and it's actually the reason that a lot of them need capable direct mail agencies as well to understand, is like all the different types of mail rates, right, and which one makes sense depending on what you're trying to accomplish, and because it can make a huge difference, right, and because you've got the cost of the printing, and then you got the cost of the mailing, right? And you pick the wrong postal type and you may have overpaid. But if you pick the right postal type, all of a sudden it can work for you, right? And we find that people who work, with a non-sophisticated agency that doesn't understand these nuances to advise, even trackability, right? First class versus third class, and the ability to put tracking barcodes that the Postal Service will let you use, right? For its reporting, knowing which ones come with it, which ones don't, right? Have you guys helped systematize that so that the marketer can make an intelligent choice around that?
Very, very much so. We've really invested heavily in simplifying the set of decisions that a marketer has to make in order to deploy a high-performing direct mail campaign. And so we've essentially created a set of templates, creative templates that you operate within that, number one, will not let you make a mistake and, color outside the lines and, end up with something gets kicked out by the Postal Service because of an incorrect design. As you know, the Postal Service will reward you from a pricing standpoint if you meet certain design criteria.
Yeah.
Right. Size matters in these things. And so we've locked these things down. We've blocked out the postage area. You can't put any content there. The system won't let you do that. And we've built templates that are of the most optimized pricing points from the USPS. So we've kind of put a set of boundaries in place that kind of keep you going down the right path. And then number two, we've created a very simple metaphor to enable folks to decide, do I want to get it there quickly, or do I want to let it take a little bit more time and pay less? And so that's really the decision point that folks need to make about their campaigns. And you know what we found, Kevin, because we've done so much work on the back end and integrating Postalytics with HubSpot and Salesforce and ActiveCampaign and Zoho and all these CRM and marketing automation tools, we're finding new use cases for direct mail that are running far more toward first class, because people want to deliver the message. It's far more important to deliver one piece of mail at the right time than to get the most money off of a stamp, right? Mm-hmm. So when you need a piece of mail to deliver in a very tight window of time, you choose first class mail, right? If you've got a little bit more flexibility, you can wait a little longer, you can plan things out, you can use standard or marketing class mail. All of them from Postalytics include what's known as the intelligent mail barcode from the USPS. So, right. And you have to pay extra to get that on standard class mail. So we've done that, and the dashboard that shows exactly where your mail is in the production stream is a critical part of what we're providing to the marketers, so that they can see exactly where their mail is, but also pushing that data back into the CRM. So all of a sudden, Salesforce knows, hey, Kevin's piece of mail is being delivered today. Trigger the other parts of this campaign. Trigger an email to go out. When Kevin hits his QR code, his personalized QR code, hey, Salesforce wakes up and says, hey, we need a rep to pick up the phone and call right now, right? So building the pathways for all of this rich data around mail delivery and mail response, incorporating that in dashboards and pushing it back into the CRMs for further consumption is a really important part of what we're doing. And what it's really about, though, to your original point, let's get the friction out. Let's get the complexity out, reduce the number of decisions that marketers need to make. Let marketers focus on marketing rather than becoming postal experts and, print production experts, right? That stuff it's arcane, it's complicated, and let software deal with that. That's our perspective.
Yep. Well, clearly, great minds think alike. A lot of the functionality I ended up building was very similar. Interestingly, while APIs have allowed integrations between various CRM systems and business intelligence systems into whatever we might choose to build, super easy in a lot of cases. Some of the most challenging integrations that we chose not to do yet, just because they're so annoying, are into the nonprofit category of platforms, because some of their platforms are running a little bit behind, let's just say. And perhaps their APIs are a little bit more creaky and rickety. Yet the nonprofit category is one of the biggest categories of direct mailers. I mean, it still works wonders for fundraising. And I can see this idea of your point of relevance, right? Is that better to do a small campaign that's hyper relevant to a specific individual at a specific time rather than do spray and pray, right? And so I'd love to hear your thinking on the nonprofit category and how you've been able to deploy some of that intelligence that you built into the system, specifically in the nonprofit category.
Yeah. Well, it's I think a great question. And as a matter of fact, we just came back from the Bridge Nonprofit Marketing Conference in Washington last week, where we met with a lot of nonprofits. A lot of the nonprofit CRM providers are there. And so we've got a lot going on in that sector. But specifically, when a donation is recorded in a nonprofit CRM, we've got a lot of customers now that are using the workflow capability of right now, Salesforce is making their Salesforce CRM available to nonprofits at an incredibly discounted rate. HubSpot is doing the exact same thing. So they're really attacking that nonprofit sector. Now the nonprofit CRMs are really advancing their technology so they can use modern workflow tools to say, hey, when a donation comes in, we're going to send out a letter thanking this donor specifically with the donor amount, their history, from the executive director of the nonprofit, thanking them, and have it happen automatically without a human having to be involved. And because of kind of how we've structured Postalytics, you can send out one letter, one postcard, one self-mailer at a time, and we take care of all the back end stuff. And so you don't have to be concerned with the traditional kind of batch volumes that are required in order to get things done. And so in the nonprofit space, we're really seeing a lot of new use cases for direct mail to do things like the thank you letter, or when somebody comes to the website and they fill out a form, but they don't finish their donation. Well, if the email's not opened, then trigger a postcard to go out first class, get it there quickly, say, hey, we love your donation. You're almost there. Just finish this off. So there's a lot of kind of new use cases where, maybe only email has been used in the past, that now we can plug direct mail in using some of this newer technology.
Yeah, that's really great. Are there any other industry categories where the ability to really refine the choreography of the direct mail has manifested and sort of reopened direct mail as a vehicle for some particular types of companies or industry categories or use cases?
Yeah. So, we're seeing a tremendous amount happening in retail and e-commerce. So that, the shopping cart scenario is obviously highly relevant there. But also, there are email has been the primary channel by which retailers and e-commerce players have communicated with existing customers as catalogs that were cut back, and so email became that primary channel. But as you know, there's a long-term secular decline in email open rates.
Yeah.
So marketers are saying, all right, well, what am I going to do with the people that are not open my email? I'm saturated digital channels. I'm all over digital, but I got this long-term decline. Can I target some of those people, pick some of those people off with win-back campaigns? So we're seeing a lot of retention, loyalty, win-back in the retail and e-commerce sectors, again, driven out of email marketing workflow data to trigger automatic direct mail pieces to go out and reactivate folks with a lot of success. And generally what we're finding is when you use multiple channels to connect with folks, you'll find the one that they want to interact with, and then you can kind of stick with that. And for most of our customers, it's really not that piece of mail costs 60 cents and an email is virtually free, and 60 cents doesn't matter, right? It's getting that connection, getting that engagement.
Right.
That's what matters. So it's a scalable way to target folks who are not responsive in other channels that are maybe less on a per message basis, but still very economical in the bigger picture.
Right. Well, one of the things I love about your data-driven platform and the fact that you can alter the choreography and of the messaging, but also who gets messages and who doesn't via direct mail, maybe in which type of message they get from a form factor perspective, is that direct mail, like a lot of digital, is all about the math, right? And the more savvy marketers, they understand their power curve, right? They understand their 90-10, 95-5 or 80-20 rule, right? And so while it may not make sense mathematically to go after a certain segment of your customer or prospect base, there may be a particular segment of your prospect base where it's absolutely worth mailing them. And then there may be an even more rarefied segment of your audience due to lookalike modeling or some other model that you've built, where you say, actually, these guys deserve a much fancier mailer, right? I'm willing to put this piece of mail in the mail for $2.85, whereas the other ones get the 97-cent mailing, right? And this idea that you can really treat your segments and your cohorts and your personas differently as opposed to a one-size-fits-all mailing, to me, that's exciting, right? Because it's sort of the elements of dynamic creative optimization, which have been available in the digital world for a long time, applied into the direct mail ecosystem. So do you have any sort of success stories in that area where your customers have been able to take sort of a premium portion of their customer set or prospect set and treat them differently?
Yes, very much. And going back to the nonprofit sector, I think that we see that quite a bit in the nonprofit world, where the sophisticated nonprofit marketers have segmented their customer base by their annual giving volumes, and the type of direct mail that they get is highly dependent upon the range of their annual giving, or, to your point, the lookalike audience building right around those various ranges. Mm-hmm. And so you'll see far more expensive pieces being sent out and far more exclusive digital properties being accessed by that mail for the top tier, for the VIP customer or the VIP donors, and then more mass marketing, less cost per piece, and more regular communication going out to those that have fallen into the lower tiers of their segments. So I think that folks in nonprofits that can do a great job of that, and we see that a lot in our campaigns. But the other thing I think that is very much related to your point is something that we try to emphasize with our clients, and that's ABT, always be testing. And so folks that are either not from a direct mail background, new to direct mail, they don't necessarily think about the fact that it's really no different than any other channel. You have to be looking at this from a scalable standpoint, and you have to be thinking of this systematically as a program. You can't just throw one campaign out and expect there to be results. You've got to, this channel will work like any other channel, but it's got to be committed to. And so having a testing game plan right up front and built into your structure of what you're doing makes all the difference in the world. And so the best customers are testing all of those channels, and they're testing across different dimensions. They're testing format, they're testing call to action, they're testing artwork, they're testing a lot of different things across each of those segments. And so as they're doing that, they're getting better as they go along. And so, to me, that's when we see marketers that are committed to that level of engagement with the channel, those are the ones that are most successful.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. You occasionally get the prospect who wants to do a single time direct mailing and expect to hit their numbers. And the other thing is that you sometimes get them where they want to do direct mail in a silo and not do any other digital or marketing outreach. Time and time again, we've seen that it takes a certain number of impressions before the person even understands what the message is. But there's also a secondary thing, which is that consistent advertising builds trust only because, or partially, I think, because it lends credibility to the organization. Like the fact that they can continue to mail to you, or the fact that they can continue to buy TV ads or radio ads or whatever it is that they're doing, to some extent, maybe after the third to fifth or eighth impression, where they hear the ad and it actually registers, they're like, oh, these guys must be legit. This is not a fly-by-night company, right? And so that commitment across an overall marketing plan, and in particular in direct mail, I think is absolutely key. So if there's a takeaway for those listening is if you're thinking of dabbling in direct mail, don't expect to like hit the home run first time up at plate. You know, didn't even learn how to take a swing yet.
I love to tell customers, ask this question. If you were to hire a salesperson and that salesperson called 1,000 potential customers, left a voicemail and never did another thing, what would you do with that salesperson?
Move to the next salesperson.
Exactly. And that's basically what you're doing. If you're sending out one touch across any channel to any audience, you're hiring that salesperson that just, is dialing for dollars and moves on. And so you can expect about the same amount of success.
Yeah. So I think most of the marketing minds agree on that. What has you excited about the next year, either from a product roadmap perspective that you can share, or just in general? Like, there's a thinking out there that maybe, marketers are moving into this sort of period of austerity where they really want to be extremely confident in things before they invest. I think that could be counterproductive. That's my personal opinion, is that might be actually a time to double down when your competition's taking their foot off the gas. But, if there is in fact a period of marketing austerity, or, while you also get the excitement of AI being used in certain areas to potentially accelerate things, like, how do you see the next year rolling out? Anything that you're particularly excited about?
Yes. So, I think, regardless of whether we're in a time of some decreased demand or not, it's hard to tell at this point. We're still well over last year on a year-to-date basis, but we could very well be entering such a period. We still see a long road ahead of us in terms of building out new tech to support this channel. And so you touched on one thing in particular, the introduction of AI into all of the marketing work that everybody does is really just at the very early stages. And so we've got some super exciting stuff going on. We have, so Postalytics can be used as through our user interface, but also through our APIs. So we can become, a tool that is powering other solutions. And so we've got some really interesting folks out there building some AI solutions in particular verticals where they've got content expertise and they can solve some really critical marketing problems in a very narrow vertical market. And so it's very specific use cases where AI can be used to generate content quickly and embed that into Postalytics and get it into production very quickly is one area of immense interest. Also, the USPS, believe it or not, has rolled out some pretty incredible products in the last couple of years, including this tool called Informed Delivery, which now Informed Delivery sends you an email every morning that shows you a snapshot of your mail. And that email is being delivered to over 55 million mailboxes on a daily basis and has over a 60% open rate on a daily basis. And so this is an incredible platform that is being created. And now the USPS is opening up some APIs for third-party developers to begin to do some integration with it. So we've got some super exciting plans to incorporate Informed Delivery inside of Postalytics. And so just the tip of the iceberg on a couple of things that, you can look for from Postalytics in the next year that, regardless of where we are in the short-term demand dip or not, we are full speed ahead and building out the vision of making direct mail look and act and feel like a digital marketing channel. That's our goal.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for joining me, Dennis. I look forward to watching your continued evolution on the platform, and do stay in touch.
Absolutely, Kevin. Thank you so much. It was great catching up today, and thank you to your audience.
Thank you.
Kevin Lee's Power Marketing is available on all your favorite podcast networks. Kevin loves helping businesses excel at marketing. Having marketing challenges? Just like Santa in The Miracle on 34th Street, if Kevin can't help you, he'll know someone who can. Find him on LinkedIn, subscribe, or follow.